Alright, so in this video I'm going to be planting 2 Brassica food plots with 2 different methods. I'm going to disc all this up and plant some Brassicas in here just like I did last year. But the other food plot, the second food plot in this video, I'm going to be using a completely different method, the spray and seed method, or no-till, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be down that way in a little wetter area anyways, so it's kind of good that I'm not tilling up the soil there because it's kind of wet there anyway. Anyways, I'm going to get disc in here, and this is just a good video to show you the difference between these 2 different types of planting. I'm kind of leaning towards the spray and seed or no-till method for future years. Alright, so I just broadcasted some soybeans right into here and re-disked it to work in the beans. And now I'm going to plant my Brassicas. I planted some beans in here because them late planted beans will stay green like literally a month longer than any of the other ag beans or, you know, the beans in the fields around. So they're going to be really good browse during the hunting season because they're going to stay green probably all the way into October maybe. But anyways, I'm going to put the Brassicas in here, and then once I get this planted, I'm going to culti pack. And then I'm going to head right over to the other food plot, broadcast, culti pack, and then spray. And then we're done for today. Alright, so I made it to spot number 2. This green, tall weeds and crap right here is what I'm going to be planting right now. Looks like a complete mess, but behind me is the proof. This is a food plot I put in. It'll probably come, this video is probably already out if you're watching this video. And this was mowed, sprayed, and then planted, and then sprayed a little bit afterwards. Although like this was mowed, like I said, this is not mowed. So I'm going to broadcast right into all this tall weeds and then crush it down with the cultipacker and spray it. So it'll be like a really thick mulch layer. I'm going to broadcast some beans in here too, just in case the Brassicas don't make it through all this mulch layer, but they should, because right here is the living proof. You can see right here, the soybean plant. Right here, some Brassicas. Wow, that worked out a lot better than expected, but I knew it would do the job. This is just my grandpa's old cultipacker used to plant alfalfa with, his alfalfa fields, and it does a pretty good job food plotting too. A lot of this stuff is probably pretty much dead. You can tell it's like pushing the roots right up, and it's like limp and all cut up and basically pull out of the soil. Some of the soybeans right there are exposed, but a lot of the stuff is all under this mulch layer. And that's going to really help the soybeans germinate, being under that mulch layer. But the Brassicas can be right on the surface. But basically, all that running around packed everything down. It'll get sunlight right down to the soil, help germinate these seeds faster. And a lot of this is going to hold the moisture in somewhat. And I'm sure running it over, pressing it down one way like this, and then running back and forth would probably do a good enough job killing it. Because, you know, you'll kind of put nicks in the stem of all these broadleaf species, but the grass is going to be a little harder to kill. I'm still going to come back through here and spray this, because otherwise it's not going to really kill it completely. But yeah, this is going to be a really weed-free food plot once I spray this. Basically, you put your seeds in, you press all, you don't really even need to have a cultipacker or a crimper. You can just use the four-wheeler, pack it down. It's just, the four-wheeler does a good job actually, just the cultipacker makes it a lot quicker. I mean, I did that in maybe 10 minutes. The four-wheeler would take probably a half hour to 45 minutes to crush all this down. You can even do this with soybeans and corn. It's just when you do soybeans and corn, you got to have taller stuff like this. I mean, this stuff was like shoulder to head high, some of this hemp, ragweed, and I think water hemp, or I don't even know what the heck half this stuff is, but whatever it was like chest, shoulder, almost head high. Some of this other stuff is a little shorter where this grass is. Like this, like I said, was mowed off, and once it got about shoulder, not shoulder, ankle high, I sprayed it off, planted it, and I just used a drag to work that in because that stuff was already dead for a while. So there's multiple different methods to do this method, but this method, I'm kind of confusing you probably, but the spray and seed or no-till Brassica method is the best method for food plots out there, period. So, and I'll update you when this stuff starts growing. Well, here we are. This spray and seed plot is looking really, really good. I'm going to take you up to the food plot on the hill after this to show you the difference between these two spots. You know, the one up on the hill I tilled, this one I just spray and seeded. It's not really the greatest comparison because they're completely different soil types and completely different areas. But anyways, the soybeans in this plot don't really look the best, probably because they're lacking probably potash or potassium, because I know we tested some of our soil here and a lot of our plots are lacking that. And they're just really yellow. They probably won't be the best browse for the deer. I'm sure I overseeded this a little bit with the Brassicas. They're not really going to get too big, but there's still going to be plenty of food here. And then you can even see our winter rye or winter wheat, I believe that's what it was. A little bit of that in here. That's not really too big, but like I was saying, the soybeans don't look too good in here. I'll get in here a little further. Once you get in the middle here where it's a little thinner, some of these Brassicas look a little nicer just because they got a little more room to grow. See how big these leaves are in here versus where I just was, kind of where they're smaller. Overall, this plot turned out really good. Here, it's a little bit thin on the Brassicas too, just because there's a little bit more grass here. But then again, the Brassicas look better here anyway, so the beans here look a little better too for some reason. But look at how everything just grew right up through all this dead thatch. It's just crazy how good this spray and seed method works, guys. Right here, you can really see some of the winter wheat. Wasn't a ton of it in here, but there was some. But yeah, I'll take you over to that side so I'll show you what this other plot looks like. The spray and seed plot that I did before this one. Alright, so that's the one that I planted in this video, and this is the one that I have in a previous video. It's kind of weird because right here it's a little thin. Maybe that's just because it's overseeded, but some of these areas it's like knee-high or better. I know there's some weeds in there, but overall the plot looks really good for spray and seed, no tillage at all. Right here's a Dankin radish. Here's some of the forage rape, and here's a purple top turnip. There's a really good, you get out of the sunlight, a really good comparison of the three major Brassica species right there. Dankin radish, forage rape, and purple top turnip. And that's perfect size spacing right there. They got plenty of room to grow, unlike some of these areas in here where stuff's a little crammed in. You can even see the soybeans right here. I mean, this stuff's like knee high, and it's probably gonna get a little bigger too, because this is just mid-August here. Right at my knee. Look at how big these leaves are. That's insane. But the whole plot doesn't look that impressive, because there is some areas in here where for some reason it just didn't come in that good. I don't know, like I said, if it's lacking nutrients or something, because I mean, this stuff ain't that thick. I mean, it's a little bit thick here, but it's just as thick right here, and the stuff's a lot bigger, so it's just kind of weird. Anyways, I'm gonna take you up to the food plot on the hill now. Alright, so back up here at the food plot on the hill here. This is the area that I tilled up, whereas the other one, you know, I sprayed and seeded. This one looks a little different. I'll show you what it looks like here. Now, you remember in the other one, the soybeans were kind of yellowish, probably because they're lacking potash or something. But these ones here are real nice, dark green, the way they're supposed to be. They look a little bit healthier. Whereas the other ones, the deer probably aren't going to browse on them pretty much at all. These ones will stay green, and they'll actually be palatable to the deer, unlike those ones that are already yellow. They ain't going to eat on them at all. These ones will stay green long into the fall because, you know, they're planted later than most of the beans around here. Some of the stuff I overseed a little bit, but the brassicas in this food plot look pretty much just as good as the no-till area. So, except if you go up this way, like I said in the last update of this plot, this just dries out a little faster up here, and pretty much everything's a little bit smaller, or I should say a lot smaller. Pretty pathetic up here. I don't think this is a pH problem. It could be, but right there's that cedar tree. Another cedar tree down there that we cut down. They always say like needles from pines or cedars will affect or make the ground more acidic. Well, look at that. The stuff just looks prime right there. Right here where there was just like grass, it's just nothing really. I think it's just because it's drier here. The pH should be fine in this plot, but I'm definitely going to do a soil sample of this plot next year. We haven't done one yet in this food plot. Last year the stuff grew basically like what it looks like here. Kind of weaker on this side and pretty good throughout the middle. So it's definitely not the pH, because I mean there was just tons of years of needles dropping off these cedar trees, and right here in the middle where these trees were is where it looks the best. Look, see how good this stuff looks. Soybeans here look really good. I think that's what I'm going to put this whole plot into next year, because this is the second year we've had brassicas, and soybeans will just be a good alternative. I know I have some soybeans in here this year, but I want pretty much the whole plot to be beans next year. Hopefully I can get this side to grow a little better. You can see the bottom looks pretty bad here too, the lower side. But once you get up closer to where these trees were, that's where the stuff looks bigger. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. Hope you enjoyed this comparison of the two methods. It would have been a better comparison if I would have did it in the same plot, you know, like down there in the wetter area or up here, where I would have either just 1/2 spray and seed and 1/2 tilled. Would have been a really good comparison then, but still a pretty good comparison just to show you that the no-till works just as good as tillage. And that area down there was just too wet to disc up anyway, because we've had such a wet year. I mean, we could have worked it up, but it would have been a lot of clogs in the disc and wouldn't have worked out too well. I pretty much planted the same stuff in both plots, you know, some soybeans with I think I put honey hole, I believe, in both. I'm not really sure anymore. No, there's a lot of brassicas. I threw in some dankin radish and even some winter wheat that's in here too. Not a ton of winter wheat, but I put the same thing in both areas, different methods, and they both worked out really nicely. This is just a good video to kind of compare and contrast the two differences, and you pretty much get the same results out of both these methods. It would have been a little harder to spray and seed this plot just because it's on a hill, but you could have planted like buckwheat here in the summertime, you know, like in June or late May, came back in July or early August here, and could have did it and it would have worked. So I think I'm going to be doing a lot more spraying seeding in the future, but in certain cases I will need to till. I'm not completely done tilling. I don't see a ton of weeds in this plot, but it's kind of mainly because I a little bit overseeded it and the stuff kind of canopied early and shade out most of the weeds. There's some grasses in here, but overall it's a pretty good looking food plot, as is all of our food plots this year. So really hope you enjoyed the video, guys. That's going to wrap up this video, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and until next time, guys, see ya.